Hey friends, welcome to another episode of It's Messy, but It's So Good. And today my guest is Charlotte Jukes. And Charlotte is a former nurse. In fact, she was a nurse for 37 years in healthcare before a life-altering workplace incident led her to a new path. So Charlotte is now a holistic coach, and she has a business called Connection Coaching, and she is the host of a podcast called Pickleball and Partnership. So this episode is for those of you that love pickleball or are interested in pickleball. Charlotte really brings us through her whole journey of how it enhanced communication with her husband, playing pickleball and being open to all the observations that she really reflected on that really changed her life and helped her to really expand her world. So enjoy the show. Hi, everyone. Welcome back to It's Messy, but It's So Good. And today I have my guest, Charlotte Jukes. And I want to welcome you, Charlotte.
Thank you, Fran. It's so lovely to be here.
And I actually started listening to Charlotte's podcast, and it just fascinated me on pickleball. And we're going to get into that a little bit later. But Charlotte has been a nurse for many, many years, and she now is a coach and a podcaster. And we're going to talk about, really, Charlotte, your metamorphosis, your passion journey, because I relate very much, because I think you're aware that I'm also a nurse. And I had a very similar journey in nursing that you had, and I'm sure there are many nurses out there that could relate. So I'd love to hear your story about your nursing journey and then how that got into your coaching and your podcasting.
Wow. Yes. Thank you for that. Yes, I've been a nurse for 37 years. I had to add it up. And that feels like such a long time, which I suppose it is. Makes me feel very old. But yes, I went straight into nursing from school, from high school, and had such an amazing career doing different things, working on surgical units. I was an ICU nurse, absolutely loved that. Went and worked in the private sector, actually for Procter & Gamble in the UK, which was lots of fun. I really enjoyed that work as well. And it's funny how that sort of lined up with me having my two babies in England. So yeah, that sort of all came together at that time. We as a family moved to Canada in 2000 with my two daughters, and then we had another son here. And so I went then into community nursing, and it's community nursing that I've been doing for the last 25 years here in Canada. And I suppose somewhere along the way, and it was definitely prior to 2016. So we're talking about 10 years ago, somewhere around that time. If I'm being honest, I became quite disillusioned with my work, with what I was able to do for people in the way that I could be authentic with clients that I was seeing in their own homes, with their families. There was only so much I could do. And I felt that there was just so much more. And so around that time, I started searching, I started looking, I started exploring different modalities, and I researched lots of different sort of areas of energy healing, I suppose. Reiki, craniosacral. I looked at yoga. something called Body Talk. And I actually went down that path of energy healing as well. So I sort of had one foot in Western medicine camp and one foot in Eastern medicine camp. And I was sort of, working both together alongside, but still not feeling like I was really in alignment. And my work in nursing, my work in Western medicine became more and more frustrating the more I learned about Eastern medicine and energy healing. And I just didn't feel like I was giving 100% of myself. And I knew I could give more. I did start my own business around that time in 2016, and I started seeing clients who were sort of as frustrated as I was that Western medicine couldn't give them the answers that they wanted. It seemed to be very much about symptom management without anybody really getting to the root cause of what was going on. And that involved not just on a physical level, but a mental level, an emotional level, and a spiritual level as well. And there didn't seem to be anything except perhaps energy medicine that addressed all of those different aspects of our health. Things came to a head in August of 2023 for me. I was struggling to get to a point where I was ready to leave nursing. Nursing had become my identity. It was really who I was, and I didn't know anything different. It's a great career. I was very well respected. I mean, nurses are. You meet somebody and they say, "Oh, what do you do?" And I would say, "Well, I'm a registered nurse." And immediately people warmed to you and they respected what you were doing, and I felt worthwhile. It really filled up my worthwhile cup. But I wasn't aligned with myself. I wasn't aligned with my heart and who I wanted to be and where I wanted to go. And so I was never going to leave nursing of my own accord. I realize that now, until perhaps I came to retirement, but I wasn't ready for that then. And literally, the universe, who had been poking me and saying, "Okay, jump, make that leap, follow your heart, do what you want to do," presented me with this situation that took me out of nursing. And it sort of, I mean, I say it very blasé in a way, and listeners may think, "Oh my gosh, this is a huge thing that happened and she's just brushing over it." And I'm not. I went to work and was assaulted by my client, who came at me with knives, and it was a very frightening experience. I had encountered violence in the workplace previously. We deal with a lot of clients with mental health concerns. I was very aware of potential risks and situations I had been in previously. But this one really threw me for a loop. And I actually wasn't able to go back to work. And I realized that this was the universe's way of saying, "Okay, I'm pulling you out of this.
Yeah.
It's time for you to address what's going on and start healing myself as well." And so this was a real opportunity for me to be able to do that. And so for the last, 18 months, I have been on this healing journey, and which has been amazing. And I'm so grateful for that. And that seems weird in light of, what happened to me. But I am truly grateful for the opportunity to really take the time to look at who I am, what my goals are, and how I want to move forward. And so I've been able to look at my skills and my experience, and I think really transition to a place where I can be of real service to people. and really feel as though I can show up authentically and I can show up in a way that feels aligned with my core values and help people move towards that for themselves as well.
So you developed a coaching practice now. I know that, right?
Right.
Right.
Yeah.
That's
Yeah.
beautiful. Yeah, I related to everything you said. And I'm sorry that you had that experience, but as you shared, it kind of catapulted you into a wake-up call. Knock, 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 and into bigger and better things for yourself. But I related very much because I've been a nurse. I think it's about 42 or 43 years. Yes.
That's incredible.
And in my 30s, which is a long time ago, I started to feel disillusioned also. And it started with a Reiki class. And then, as once you go into learning about integrative health, which we used to call complementary health, but you want to know more and more and more and more. And the more you learn, it is quite challenging bridging the two together. And I also did do that as much as I could. But you start to feel like it's very different now. Like back, 30 years ago. I mean, that's like when I think I first took my Reiki class. I mean, it was like introducing Reiki into a nursing home and doing a study on patients. Like the nursing staff were looking at me like I was crazy. But you know, being a coach now too, and refocusing. And it's funny because I keep my RN in front of my coaching title. Um, doing that and is much more aligned with, as you feel, that same way of holistically treating and working with clients and patients. So,
Mhm.
yeah,
Absolutely. And I think, an important piece for me, because I did work in the community for so long, was the family dynamic as well. And that felt very, I was very drawn to that. I am very drawn to that. I think, when I sat down and looked at what areas I was good at, that was definitely one of them. And I think it's that, looking at different perspectives and seeing different sides, which is so valuable in coaching.
yeah. And doing what you're really drawn to is so important, and not what what you should be doing, but what really lights you up. And often I feel like many people don't even know their own gifts because they come so natural to them that they don't even recognize them. But they are superpowers. So,
Mhm.
yeah.
Yeah, that's a good point. And I mean that sort of takes me back to, when I was in school or even before that. I was 3 years old and I was given a nurse's uniform, and my mum was a nurse. And it was assumed that I would go into nursing because at that time, and I went to an all girls secondary school. And at that time, unless you were in that top 1% and maybe you became an engineer or something completely different, most of us girls went into nursing or we went into administration. It was sort of typing school and become a secretary. And I remember being 15, 16 years old and saying to my mom, I don't think I want to be a nurse. And the look on her face was sort of upset and disappointment. And that broke my heart. And then saying to my dad, I don't think I want to be a nurse. And him saying, well, of course you do, because what else would you do? What
Wow.
else could you possibly do? And so, yeah, I mean, they had such good intentions, and I'm not saying it was not wasted at all. And I'm glad I went that path, but I was almost forced down that road. If
Yeah.
it had been 100% my choice, I may not have done that.
Yeah, I can see that. It's funny, I didn't have that at all. I was actually horticulturist before I became a nurse.
Oh, wow.
And my first dream was to work in a Native American Indian reservation somewhere, and I actually studied agriculture in college. And then I quickly realized that that was more about having a farm and learning about livestock in that particular school. So I switched to horticultural therapy. And that was really, horticulture, and went into horticultural therapy down the line after, as part of my nursing, like, research, what else do I want to do? Because as nurses, many of us, I do believe, have really good interpersonal skills. And, working with people, of course, you always have those few that, do not. But I would say most people who go into nursing, they have big hearts. They want to serve, they want to help. And that's a skill that you can transfer right into coaching,
Mhm.
So,
Yeah, I
yeah.
agree. I think, and I always would pride myself on this, to be honest, because, I would walk into a patient's home and immediately, I mean, this wasn't in the hospital. So in the hospital, it's the medical staff, it's the nurse's territory. When you're walking into somebody's home, you're on their turf.
Hmm.
They're the boss. And I mean, really, let's face it, the client, the patient is the boss. We're there to guide, to support, but they are in charge of their health. And that was one thing that I absolutely loved, was listening to people and empowering them to take charge of their own health. Yes, I'm the nurse. Yes, I have a lot of information. Yes, I can hold you and support you and guide you, but you need to decide what you want to do with that and which choices you're going to make. And I think that's what I loved about community rather than the hospital,
Yeah.
where we almost strip people of everything that they are. I think sometimes, we strip them of their dignity, we strip them of their authority.
Hmm.
Um, and yeah, that's really hard as a nurse, and I'm sure you can relate to this too. As a nurse, that's very hard to see people become so vulnerable and lose their power.
Yeah, for sure. After 4 years of being in the hospital, I never went back. I went into the same thing, community health, public health, and then millions of things, but creative things. Not back into the hospital because I just didn't think that was the right place, for my way of viewing what I wanted to do in nursing.
Yeah.
So,
And I
well,
so admire people that work in the hospital,
oh yes, not to take, no, we need people
No.
in the hospital, but I think that, and I don't even know how it is now. I mean, I would hope that there's some improvements in some hospitals, but thank God I haven't been a patient in a while in a hospital. But I think that with holistic nursing, there's a whole field of holistic nursing, which means that you can take that nursing, which is about being present with patients and implementing ways to support patients in a more holistic way. You can take that to the recovery room, the ER, the staff floor, and that's available to many nurses. They might not realize it to study holistic nursing, so, and
Yeah.
coaching. So tell me a little bit about your coaching practice. What kind of patients do you coach, or clients? What's your
Yeah.
niche?
Well, it's interesting, isn't it? Because I don't know that I necessarily have a niche or have
Hmm.
found a niche. I mean, I always say that it seems to be the things that I'm working on are the people that I attract.
Hmm.
And it's like, oh, okay, here's the next lesson for me. So I really see coaching as such a growth journey for myself as well. Um, So at the moment, I seem to be attracting people with relationship issues, which
Mm,
is so, I was going to say funny. I don't know that funny is the right word, but it's just, I find it very interesting because, of course, with my podcast being about, yes, it's about pickleball, but it's about relationships. It's about partnership with the person that you're playing pickleball with. And that might be your partner, it might be your husband, it might be, the love of your life. It might not be, it might be somebody that you just met. So relationships seem to be the people that I'm attracting at the moment are women who are struggling. I would say women in their sort of midlife 40s, 50s, who have been married or together with their partner for some time and are struggling.
mm,
And I can relate to that 100% because life is a struggle, and especially when you bring children into the mix, it does get very tricky. There's different dynamics. The honeymoon phase is over, and it's just sort of trying to bring that back into your relationship and find some common ground. So I do seem to be attracting a lot of women who now at this point in their life want something more. They want something outside the home for themselves.
mhm,
And I think that was a big thing for me as well, because I did feel as though I fitted my career in around family life. I mean,
mhm,
my husband worked out of town for 10 years. And so I really played single mum a lot, which again was very, very difficult. That was a very difficult time in our lives and very tricky to navigate. And I think, not that I resent, maybe I did resent in some way the fact that I couldn't do what I wanted to do with my career. Right. And I think a lot of women can relate to this because we are at home. It seems that our husbands or our partner's job takes priority, even though, nursing is a good wage. And I've always earned, up to what my husband has earned also.
mhm,
But yes, I think I'm discovering that there are a lot of women who want more. They're not satisfied with life.
mhm.
Perhaps the children have grown up also. Perhaps they're now empty nesters. And, certainly my husband and I, we looked at each other and said, okay, now what?
Mhm, mhm.
Yeah.
So is that the impetus also for you starting the podcast? That you were kind of exploring new avenues and, for your own life. I'd love to hear a little bit about the podcast and how it came to be, how it birthed.
Yeah. And that's, I mean, yeah, such a gift. And sort of when I look at that, I marvel at the synchronicities of, the universe and how everything just sort of seems to fall into place. Um, Pickleball came before the podcast. So if I could just sort of go back a little bit
Yes, of
to
course.
pickleball. Yes. So, my husband and we moved house. We bought a house that needed a complete renovation, and we spent 3 years absolutely gutting it to the bones, to the core,
Mm,
and rebuilding this most amazing dream home. And it happened to um, coincide with COVID. So it was the perfect outlet for us. I mean, we both still went to work. Obviously, in nursing, my job was busier than ever. My husband's in safety, and his job was busier than ever. So we were both incredibly busy at work. But then, of course, we came home and, we couldn't leave the house. There was nothing to do. And so we took on this huge renovation. and we were living in it at the time. How we didn't divorce is beyond me, because quite honestly, yes, I would never recommend anybody to go through what we went through.
Because it was
Um,
hard enough just going through COVID and being in the house with somebody.
right? So, but it's like, no, how can we make things even more challenging? How can we add to our plate? But anyway, we did it. We learned a lot about each other. We learned a lot more about ourselves during that time. But we completed the renovation. It was beautiful. It was my dream home. I loved it. And my husband had this crazy idea, oh, let's put it on the market and see if it sells. I
Oh my
know.
goodness.
And it did. It sold really quickly. I mean, yes, we made some great money on it, but, and I'm saying this with immense sadness.
Mhm.
But anyway, I trust the path and I trust the choices that we make. And, that was something he felt strongly about. So we went with it. We sold. And anyway, then we ended up buying another house that needed no work doing
Oh,
to
thank
it.
goodness.
Right. Thank goodness. Absolutely. And so that was the moment when we looked at each other and said, okay, now what? So we have three children. The girls were in their 20s. Our son, actually, he's 21 now. So he was, yeah, just turning 20. He was at university. They all had their own lives. They were doing their own thing, needed us less than they had done. And Neil said, let's play pickleball. And I said, you have to be kidding me. I'm not 80 years old. I'm not old. I am not going to play pickleball. But he persisted, and he doesn't usually, that's not like him. Usually, he has an idea, he throws it out there. If I don't run with it, we don't do it
Mhm.
typically. But he kept nagging me, and I thought, okay, I should be grateful. My husband wants to do something with me, so we should go and try it. So I said, okay, but we'll take some lessons because I really want to know the rules and I want to know how to play properly. And so we did. We signed up for 6 lessons once a week for 6 weeks. We went and learnt how to play and immediately became addicted.
Mm.
And if you haven't played pickleball, anybody hasn't played, they won't get this. But honestly, it is so addictive. It really is. And it's so fun. And you have so many laughs when you're playing and you meet so many people. It seemed like the world just opened up to us.
Mm.
And so, yeah, we just kept playing, kept playing. We're still playing. We absolutely love it. We have met so many different people. We've traveled and played pickleball, which is another great thing because we were finding that when we went on holiday, we had different agendas. Perhaps I
Mhm.
wanted to sit and read a book, perhaps he wanted to go and explore. But now we can actually play pickleball together when we
Yeah.
go away as well. So we were very involved with pickleball. And then, so part of my healing journey from, being out, off work as a nurse and now doing this healing work on myself was to really take back my life and really feel empowered and make some choices. I think I got to the point where I said, okay, I'm in my mid 50s. I could actually live until I'm 90 something, God willing, I could. And that's another 40 years. 40 years is a long time. So I want to now do as many things as I possibly can. And I want to take chances. And I want to do things that light me up. And I'm okay now to try something and not be good at it, but try it because it's fun and it
Mm.
feels like this would be a good thing to do. And if it doesn't work out, it's okay. I'm not afraid anymore of failing. In fact, the only way I can fail is if I don't try, right? I think there's so much power in the choices we make. And it really doesn't matter which choice we make, as long as we make one and we commit to it and we see it through, right?
Mm-hmm.
So this idea was presented to me, and it was part of Kathy Heller, and I was following her, and she's amazing, and she's a great mentor for me. And she was presenting this course that she runs about podcasting. And it was interesting because as a teenager, my dad worked for a radio station and he actually got me to speak. I had a slot every Saturday morning on the radio and I reviewed computer games. I wasn't into computers at all, really, but I had this slot. He said, "Do you fancy doing this?" I said, "Yes, I do." And I loved it. I absolutely loved it. And when I had gone to my dad at 16 saying, "I don't want to be a nurse," I actually said to him, "I want to be a journalist. I want to be on the radio. I think I want to be on TV." And that was when he steered me back towards nursing. So I think it had always been in my blood.
Mm.
It had always been something that I was very interested in. So when Kathy Heller presented this course about podcasting, I thought, I wonder if I could. And so I just went with it. But I sat down the very first week. I sat down for the lesson. It was via Zoom. There were a whole group of us who were there eagerly waiting to find out how we were going to start our podcasts. And I had no idea what it was going to be about. And originally I had thought, oh, I'm sure it'll be along the lines of my coaching business. But as I sat there and I listened to Kathy and I listened to her wise words, I thought, it has to be about pickleball. I am so passionate about pickleball. And I'm also passionate about it because Neil and I have been together for over 30 years. We just celebrated our 28th wedding anniversary. And when we started to play pickleball, we really learned so much more about each other and we learned to communicate in ways that we never had. And that was amazing to me that it took pickleball for us to figure all this new stuff out about each other. And so that's how the podcast came about. It was because pickleball created this new
Partnership.
vessel.
Right.
Right. So that we could, yeah, so that we could actually communicate in ways that we never had. And it really enhanced our relationship. Like we really started to have fun together again.
Yeah. Yeah. Like spontaneity and everything's different every time you play with the people you meet and the circumstances that you come into. So as far as pickleball in general, can you share like some of the highlights or lessons that you've learned about life or just about yourself through pickleball? Because I would just want to share, I took a 4-week course to learn
Okay.
pickleball back a couple of months ago during the dark winter days. And then I went out on my own and I stepped into this great place, community center, where I took the lessons. And I really didn't know what I was doing. But one thing I can say is the people were so warm and welcoming. And even though I didn't know, and I felt kind of bad, I was like, oh, I don't want to hold people back. They were so gracious. And I ended up meeting someone in my class who showed up, and we kept meeting every week, and we would brave through together. So we'd be like a team, we're the not experienced team. And then I got a little overwhelmed because the place that I go to play was so busy. So I took a step back and I said, when the spring comes, I'm going to meet my buddy and we're going to just play outside and just practice. And then will get back into games. And then I know some other people in my community that play, but they're not like really advanced. And I want to start back like in a fun, easy way. But I loved it. I really did. I really did. And I could see how it could be very addictive once you
Mhm.
start, because the rules are a little hard to kind of get in the beginning, but you have to play in order to understand the rules. So, I could see how, I'll get back into it again and enjoy it, but I'm on a hiatus right now from pickleball.
Okay.
But you'll encourage me. So share with me what it has added to your life. And I
Yeah.
know with your husband, of course, it's
Well,
added
yes.
a lot to the partnership.
That's such a great question. Yes. I mean, not only just our marriage, our partnership, our communication. I think about what I've learned about myself as a person as well. And I think when you step out of your norm, when here I am now, I'm not in nursing, I'm transitioned to coaching. Um, I'm now podcasting. I'm now taking up a new sport in my 50s. When you step out of that comfort zone, you come up against, well, I came up against so much resistance. And I think it's very easy. It would have been very easy for me to say, okay, I'll do those 6 lessons and then I'll quit. Because, I mean, I think we all know ego has a way of keeping us safe. It
Mm,
has a way of keeping us playing small, staying in our lane, stay in your box, don't spread your wings, don't branch out, don't take risks. And I think it's easy for us to then do that, to stay small, to stay protected, to stay safe. And I love that because that was needed. As we were growing up, we figured this way of being in the world, and that worked for us. But I think, and I don't know if it's, at this time in my life, or at this time when we feel like we've been smothered, that we have to, get out of the box. We have to shed our skin and try something new. But anyway, yes, the rules are confusing. The scoring, I could not get my head around. And my husband was like, how do you not get this? And I said, I don't know. I'm an intelligent woman. I just do not understand this scoring. It didn't make sense to me. So, anybody that also doesn't understand the scoring, stick with it. It will become very clear. But I think I could easily have given up after those lessons. Um, what did I learn about myself? I learned that I was coming up against resistance. I learned that the only way to grow was to have compassion with that resistance and to figure out exactly why it was coming up and how it was protecting me.
mm,
And yes, if I was going to grow, I needed to actually use that as a stepping stone to get to the next place. And I honestly just kept pushing myself. So then we signed up at our community center. We had taken the lessons outside. It was August, so the weather was still good enough. So we signed up at the local community center. And then I had to go there, on my own to an unfamiliar place to meet with unfamiliar people. And so again, that was growth. That was stepping
mhm.
up to my edge and saying, I'm going to do this. I feel scared, but I'm going to do this anyway. And like you say, I think most people that play pickleball are the friendliest, loveliest people ever. Everybody's there just to have fun. Well, that's not strictly true because some people are very competitive.
Most, 95% maybe.
95% are there to have fun. I actually learned that I was very competitive too. And it really mattered to me that I won. I was
Mm,
not there to not do well. So I learned that about myself. I also learnt that, and there was this lady, I can see her face now. She was called Maggie. She was on the other side of the net to me. And when we played her, she smashed the ball at me like there was no tomorrow. And
Mm,
I learned that that instilled quite a bit of anger within me. And I really had to sit with that and figure out why and where that was coming from. And I realized that I am this, or I was this perfectionist that had to do everything right. And I had to be the best at everything. And I had to be this high achiever. And again, then I realized I sort of, sat with that. I did the work and realized that that was my growing up. That to me, I had to earn love. And that was done by achieving. That was done by excelling. That was done by being better than everybody else. So I learned that about myself. Um, I learned that I take things very seriously because of that, and that actually I needed to have more fun in my life. So thank goodness for pickleball, because now I go and I mean, it's a constant, I have to remind myself,
sure.
you're having fun, you're here to have fun, right? But I am having more fun. And I think I lost that along the way as well. And I
Mhm.
think I see so many people who have lost the fun in life. And now I am having fun. I am a much happier person. My
Mm.
husband thinks I'm a happier person. And yeah, I think I'm a lot more fun to spend time with. Oh, I learned so many things playing pickleball. Honestly, I the list is endless. It really
Mm.
is. But I
Mm.
think any time that you put yourself out there and you come up against your edge and you take that step forward and do it anyway, you grow.
Absolutely. Absolutely. And it's funny, I didn't think of it that way, but one thing I did notice when I would play that I said shit a lot.
Yeah.
Because every time and I was like, I was kind of shocked in a way that I was missing so much. Of course, I'm a beginner, and it does bring up a lot of feelings of, um, why can't I get this? Why aren't I good enough yet? And this whole idea of achievement, it's like I should be as good as the person that's been playing a year. All of these different feelings coming up. It's so true. This achievement that you know, we all grow up with, to the expectations that we have of ourselves and what we're supposed to achieve. And when we're learning something, to just keep coming back one day at a time, one day at a time. And you're inspiring me to go back because I think I was just really waiting for the spring, for the better weather, so I would like to experience playing outside. I think that would be a really nice feeling. But
Playing outside is lots of fun. I mean, you do have to contend with the weather, and it can be
yes,
quite windy here where I play, and that's a challenge. But playing outside is, I mean, just being outside and being
is
in
always
nature.
good, and doing anything athletic.
Yeah.
Do you ever play alone with your husband? Just singles?
We don't play singles. I have to say, I don't really enjoy singles, but what we do together on our own is drill. So he bought a net actually, and we either put it on the driveway or we put it in the garage if it's too cold outside, or we even stand in the kitchen. Like, quite honestly, we will just pull our paddles out sometimes and stand in the kitchen and just knock the ball to each other. But
Hmm.
we do drill a lot together. And I think, drilling is so important.
Yeah.
Playing the games is fun, but the drilling is how you improve.
Exactly. That's what so many people said to me. And every woman, oh, good shot, even though it's really, so encouraging. And many people did say to me, it would really help you if you, I don't know if they said drill, but they said to practice, just go somewhere and just hit the ball. But that's exactly what it is. It's a drill. So yeah, so that's that. Many people told me that. So.
And you can do that yourself as well. You don't even need a partner because you can find a wall and just practice hitting forehands, backhands against the wall.
Yeah, I don't have one. I don't have a wall. I don't have a wall outside either.
Yeah.
So, but
Or you
anyway.
can even just, honestly, you can just stand in the middle of your kitchen or wherever and just practice bouncing the ball on your paddle,
Oh,
forehand, backhand. And then if you get really good at that, you can practice bouncing the ball on the edge of the paddle as well. But
oh,
it's just that hand-eye coordination.
yes. Okay, that's a great tip. Thank you.
Yeah.
Well, I wanted again talk about your podcast. Can you please share with us the name of your podcast again?
Yes, it's called Pickleball and Partnership. And
Okay.
it's on Apple and Spotify, it's on YouTube, and it's on Heart.
And the name of your coaching program?
Is Connection Coaching.
Oh, I love that. I love that. And we're going to put everything in the show notes so that people can easily click onto your podcast and to please follow her podcast and review.
That would be
That's
lovely. And
that's
yes, and
important.
Fran, I would really love to have you on the podcast
Oh, I would love that.
because and maybe when you've started playing outside again, and then you can come and share about your initial, discovering pickleball
Yes.
and then playing outside and
Oh,
going back to it. I would love for you to be a guest.
yeah, the before and after story. That's
Yeah.
that sounds good. So I always ask my guests this one question, which you kind of answered, but maybe you can sum it up. What is the greatest gift that you have received from starting your podcast and playing pickleball?
The greatest gift that I have received. Oh, compassion for myself.
Mm,
I didn't used to have compassion for myself. I was very hard on myself. I judged myself. I compared myself to others, and really comparison is such a thief of joy and fun and heart-centered love and all those things. And so I have learnt to love myself and have compassion for those parts of me that feel competitive or get upset or get irritated or try and keep me playing small. I get where they're coming from,
mm.
and they can take the journey with me, but I'm in the driver's seat now.
Yeah, yeah. And the beauty is the more you play, you see those triggers coming up, the more you can work on them and the more
Yes,
expanded you get. So that's a big
exactly.
win. Well,
Exactly.
thank you so much. It's been such a pleasure speaking with you. Is there anything else you wanted to share before we go?
No, thank you, Fran. That was beautiful. I had such a wonderful time chatting with you.
Oh,
And
it was my
yeah,
pleasure.
you're a gift. Thank you.
Oh, thank you. And so are you. And get out there and try pickleball, people.
Yes, go and try it. Honestly, it's anybody can do it. It absolutely is easy to pick up a paddle and a ball and just go try it.
Yeah. It is. I wouldn't say it's easy, but it becomes easy. It
Yeah.
becomes easier, like anything else that we do, right?
Yes,
It's
exactly.
it's getting over, like you spoke so beautifully about getting over that initial fear of trying something and trusting, right?
Yeah.
That it'll work out. And it has for you for sure. Okay, thank you so much.
Thank you.
Take care. Thank you so much for listening to another episode. And I want to thank my guest, Charlotte Jukes, so much for sharing your journey of pickleball and your coaching program called Connection Coaching. Charlotte's podcast is called Pickleball and Partnership, and you can see all of the links for her Facebook group, her podcast, and her Instagram in the show notes. I really enjoyed looking at pickleball through a whole nother window, how it enhances communication, how you can reflect on how you relate to yourself and to people. So check it out. And also give her a review and follow her on her podcast. Also, I wanted to mention my new free gift, which helps with anxiety and also stress, and we can all use that again at this time. It's 5 mindfulness and somatic tools, and if you subscribe to my email, you will receive the gift. Also, check out my new website, franmedinacoaching.com. I absolutely love it. So anyway, with that said, I'm going to sign off for today. Spring is here. We're all happy about that. And we'll see you next time.